Hello again, friends. Welcome to the month of June. All throughout the Bible, we find the prayers of God's people recorded for us. And if we let them, these prayers can teach us, inspire us, and shape our own prayer life. For our devotional today, I'd like for us to read together one of my favorite prayers in the whole Bible. It's the prayer of Hannah, the mother of Samuel, and it's found in 1 Samuel chapter 2. Now, this is a prayer, but it's also a song of sorts. It's a song that recognizes who God is and rejoices in him. But before we read Hannah's prayer today, let's first set the context. We learn in chapter 1 of 1 Samuel that Hannah was in great distress about the fact that she did not have any children. Verse 10 tells us that she was in bitterness of soul and prayed to the Lord and wept in anguish. Hannah asked God for a son, and the text says that God remembered her and gave her a son, Samuel, who would go on to lead the people of Israel during an important time in their history. Hannah's prayer in chapter 2 is her response to God after he answered her prayer and gave her a son. Her prayer demonstrates for us what it looks like to respond to God with appropriate humility and thankfulness for his good gifts. But also we see that Hannah's heart is a heart that leaves room for God's grace and therefore is able to recognize that grace when it comes. You see, to fully appreciate Hannah's prayer, we should recognize that Hannah's heart is in stark contrast to what we hear every day in our culture. Our culture often tells us, you deserve to have this, you deserve to have that, you deserve to have everything that you want. Well, there's a big problem with that attitude. It doesn't leave much room for God's grace. Remember, grace is undeserved merit or favor. Grace is the very opposite of deserving or earning something. Anytime that I think that I deserve something and then I happen to receive it, well, thankfulness and joy are not likely to be things that I experience as a result. And why is that? Well, I simply think to myself, well, I got what I deserved. I received what I deserved to receive. There's no thankfulness, no joy, because my attitude doesn't allow for it. And that kind of attitude doesn't allow room for God's grace to be recognized and appreciated as God's grace. But not so with Hannah. And as we will see, in her humility before God, Hannah didn't feel like God owed her anything. And as a result, she was able to recognize God's grace and experience thankfulness and rejoicing. And so with that in mind, let us read together Hannah's prayer. I'm going to put the words on the screen for you right now. And Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoices in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. I smile at my enemies because I rejoice in your salvation. No one is holy like the Lord, for there is none beside you, nor is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so very proudly. Let no arrogance come forth from your mouth. For the Lord is the God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and those who stumbled are girded with strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased to hunger. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children has become feeble. The Lord kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the beggar from the ash heap, to set them among princes and make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will guard the feet of his saints, but the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength no man shall prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. From heaven he will thunder against them. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed." Well, CBC, I pray that you are inspired by Hannah's prayer today. May we all adopt Hannah's attitude of humility, and may we leave room in our hearts to recognize God's grace. And may Hannah's rejoicing be our rejoicing as well.